Hello, and welcome to Wilaker, a Journeyers podcast. I'm Will Abels, and this is my story.
Left home, gone coast to coast, in a hybrid car with a bag of clothes. Back on the wagon, back on the road. Would you have my back when I'm all alone? On a wing and a prayer, all out of favors. Hope to get $1 and a smile out of stranger. As the story is told and the plot unfolds, we laugh not to cry, but it's not a joke. No, it's not a joke. It's not a joke.
Welcome back to Wilaker, Chapter 18. We are coming up at the end. This chapter is going to be spread out a bit more, but I realized that there is more to talk about. And today, it's important to get this chapter out today because today I am 1 year sober. I've done it 365 days, no alcohol. I've made it. We've completed the Wilaker cycle, and so I thought today was an important episode to get out because it's a celebratory day. It's a momentous day in my life. I'm proud of myself. It was not as difficult this time around as it was the previous time. You've heard this journey. You've heard this story. I'm kind of filling in some pieces with this thing, but it's been such a great year, and I'm very thankful for it. My career's kind of back on track. My relationships with my family, my friends, everything's just so much better. There's just so much positive energy around me. And yeah, sure, there's still dark days. There's still sad days. And the world is still absolutely doing its best to destroy itself. But in my personal life, in my immediate little energy bubble, things are good, and I'm really proud of myself for making it this year. Tomorrow, I am recording my next album. It's going straight to vinyl. I'm also, it's kind of a special, but I'm mostly clipping out the video portion of it. And Corey Perry is going to be also taping 25 minutes beforehand. It's at Love and Exile in East Nashville. If you happen to listen to this episode today or tomorrow morning and you're like, oh my God, let's go. It's July 31st. Hope to see you there. It's called A Year and a Day because unless something horrendous happens tonight, tomorrow will be a year and a day sober. Yeah, look at that. Super clever. You're so clever, Will. But that'll go straight to vinyl, and that's going to be a whole process of its own. And yeah, so let's just get into it. Cause, I don't really have time to get this done today. But I haven't had time all week, and I've also been managing a lot of anxiety. It's a little bit of that body keeps the score kind of stuff where this time last year, I'm leading up to the final few days before I finally got sober, and anxiety's through the roof. And so, just one of those things where I'm feeling it. And I talked about this before. I called it like golden retriever. I called it a golden retriever something in an earlier chapter, where like a golden retriever bites you and all of a sudden you're like, why am I scared of golden retrievers? It's kind of like a little bit of that golden retriever hangover or whatever I called it. It's only been a year, so it makes sense that my body's a little bit out of proportion. And honestly, this was a bit of a tough month. I had a great break. I had a wonderful time in Burlington with my family, but then it's just been go since I got back. Flights were a nightmare trying to get home. It took me 2 days of delays and canceled flights, and I've just been felt a little unbalanced. And it's just been a lot of work trying to get this album set up and ready and going. And as you all know, money is so tough right now and things are tight. So anyway, I'm taking the time now to get this chapter out. So let's get into it. I'm catching you up. I'm back in Nashville. Jane's Hideaway has just closed. We've said goodbye to my favorite bar in Nashville, some of my favorite people. I will see them from time to time. But this is what pisses me off, is that restaurant is still just it's just empty. So this guy closes this, like not John the owner, like whoever bought it and raised the rent or raised the, whatever the property taxes, whatever happened with it, now it's just empty. And I don't understand, how are you making money off of it if it's empty? I don't know. It's one of the reasons that I'm going to be okay finally saying goodbye to Nashville sometime in the next few months. But Jane's is closed, and I'm sad, but with all the events that had just happened, with getting sober, falling off the wagon, and, traveling basically the entire Pacific Northwest, and then coming back successfully, having all these great shows. Yes, the drinking's up and down. The dark days are there. But the highs are highs. And even though the lows are low, the highs are outweighing the lows. And I'm back in Nashville now, and things are going well. And that is a problem because it means that my brain never stops and goes, well, we're losing the plot again. The plot is very good. The first thing that happens, Jane's closes. It's sad, but it's a really nice moment with my friends and people I love. And then my friend Reed, who's my first friend in Nashville, the first person I met essentially, she invites me to her July 4th party. And normally I don't drink on July 4th. It's just a thing I started doing a couple years prior. This July 4th, I was drinking plenty. But I was pacing myself, and I was like, I don't want to make a fool of myself. I want to show that I have control of this problem. And I thought I managed myself well. And I'll be honest, I met a girl when I was there, met someone. We ended up going back to her place after the party, and we started kind of seeing each other over the next 2 weeks. And again, it wasn't someone I thought oh, this is going to be a long-term relationship, but she was fun. She partied a bit, but she didn't party to a point that I was I feel like I've taken care of her or anything like that. And I don't know, it was just I just hadn't dated anyone in a while. It was just nice to kind of have someone to talk to every day. And obviously the hooking up's not bad, you know what I'm saying? Everyone who doesn't like a little hookup, right? Who doesn't like a little making out? So that immediately happens, and I'm just okay, maybe this is part of this next chapter. She had a great group of friends. Some of them I still keep in touch with. I don't know, everything just felt oh, this is the next chapter. And that was also an issue, is because my brain is kind of riddled and getting kind of funky again with alcohol. I'm kind of overthinking a lot of stuff, and I'm sort of living in this fantasy world where I'm oh, the next chapter begins. And really it was a preface to the book and the story that you all have been listening to and I've been experiencing the last year, but I'm not there yet at this point. This is early July 4th to about mid-July. Another thing is I have told, I believe, 2 of my siblings that I'm drinking. I did not tell my brother Charlie, and my parents don't know, but I think they had an idea. I think I don't remember if I told them directly. I might have mentioned it to my mom. I don't remember specifically, but we had this really fun time on July 4th. And I had this family trip coming up, and it's becoming a tradition. We go around my mom's birthday, and last year was her 65th birthday, so we were all going to go meet in Hilton Head and do that. But before that, I had a couple of shows, and as you all know, I don't get along great with the Nashville comedy scene. It's not my favorite thing. But there was this new venue called the Nashville Comedy Loft that I had heard so much about. I was really excited about it. And one of my friends was headlining it, Nick Dees. And I was booked to feature for a friend later in the month, but I was able to get a guest spot with Nick. And going back to the something needs to be going wrong for me to kind of check myself, I go and I just crush this set, and I have a great time. I was drinking during the day, but I was slow, I was pacing myself, again, managing myself, telling myself that I had control of this thing. And I went into this set, and I did great. And also, it was an outlet outside of Zany's, so I was so excited to have a new venue in town. Cut to today, Zany's is always going to win. The house always wins. They're kind of still doing their own thing, but not really. And I don't want to go too deep into it. But it was a venue that I was excited about, and now I couldn't give one fuck about. And it's really frustrating because this is what happens here in Nashville, is these new venues or these new ideas around comedy pop up, these new producers, and they do well for 6 weeks, and then they just start sucking Zany's dick again. And I don't know what conversation happens. I don't know why they feel like they have to do this, but it just keeps the scene so stagnant, and it's just frustrating. And I can talk about this for the next 40 fucking minutes if I want to, but it's not my point. The point is, I was excited about the venue. I'm no longer excited about it, but at that time, things were going great. So I do this guest spot. That goes well. I have a couple other shows. They all go well. This person I'm seeing, she's coming to shows. Everything seems like it's going fine. But there were a couple nights where I said a couple of jokes or a couple of things that were in my sense of humor that she didn't even realize I was joking. And normally, especially now, sober, I'd be oh, this isn't going to work. We don't have the same personality type. And one of the lines I made, a joke I made was she had this can of Budweiser, and she went to a gas station to buy beer, and the gas station was closed, and some lady in the parking lot gave her this can of Budweiser, and she brought it back. And then we dressed it up this little cowboy outfit. And I was oh my God, our son. And she was ew, son, no, what the hell? It was just a little 2-week fling, 3-week fling, right? And I go on this trip to Hilton Head. And again, my parents don't really know I'm drinking. And I was planning on just going to Hilton Head and acting like things are normal. I was going to try and control myself, but I was planning on drinking the entire time. And so I send like a text to this girl about the can when she tells me she's going to throw it out. And I was like, no, don't throw it out. It's our son. And then I didn't hear from her. I've never heard from her ever again. Like, that was it. That was the end of it. And I was like, okay, well, that sucks. It's a nice reminder of being ghosted. I hadn't been ghosted in a while, and it was a nice little, it was like, hey, the kid's back. So I land in Hilton Head or Savannah, and my family picks me up. And I think I had a beer like the night before I drank, and then I didn't drink in the morning, but I probably just smelled like beer. And so I get to there, and I could tell my parents both kind of give me a hug of like, what the fuck? He smells like beer again, or smells like whatever. And so I don't remember at what point during the day this kind of happened, but someone said something about me drinking, and my mom's like, Will doesn't drink. And I was like, no, I'm drinking again. And she was like, what the hell? And like, I could see her get mad, and she caught herself. And then separately, I was at the pool, and my dad said, how's your drinking? And I said, well, I am drinking again. And he goes, well, and sorry, let me just finish my thought. He goes, how's your drinking going? And I go, well, I am drinking again. Or I just said like, well, it's okay. Like, I'm drinking here and there or something like that. And he just goes, well, I really wish you didn't. And that was it. And I've always appreciated that moment because I know my dad, and I know he could have lost his mind. And instead he just kind of was like, well, that's your decision. All right. And so between my mom's reaction and that, I was like, oh, I'm not drinking on this trip. The problem is I've been heavily drinking for about 2 weeks to like 4 months at that point, or whatever it is, 2 months at that point. And so now I'm going to go through withdrawal. And that first day, I am just going through heavy withdrawal because that's one thing that always made it tough to get back in the wagon is the withdrawal. Withdrawal is just miserable. And I didn't get to like wean myself off. I didn't even get to have another beer because I was like, oh, okay, I have to like just do this. I have to just, white knuckle it, stone cold sober, and I started drinking NA beers, and we all went to dinner, and my dad told me to drink an NA beer. He's like, hey, Will, I thought we weren't doing this. And I was like, it's an NA. And that's when I was like, oh, I really can't drink this whole trip. And there was a couple times I thought about sneaking off, getting a beer here and there, but they would have known. And my brother Kevin and I tend to share a room on these vacations, and we were sharing a room then. And I was like shaking, I'm going through full withdrawal. And Kevin's like, oh my God, is he fucking dying? And if you know Kevin, it's very funny to imagine him trying to deal with like me just going through withdrawal next to him. But the next day I feel a little bit better, and I try and get back into my sober routine. I go for a really long walk. I start journaling again. I have some other stuff to get done because at that time, if anyone remembers, I had the Basement East show coming up. And that was my big, this year I'm doing this album. Last year I was doing the Basement East. And I'm doing all the same things to promote that show as I was doing now. The difference is Love and Exile's social media person is actually on top of their shit. Basement East is run by Live Nation. So I'm just dealing with Live Nation, who's just seeing how much money they can make out of me. And their social media person took $500 out of our budget to do an ad. And it wasn't even an ad that formatted into like your Instagram or to like onto Facebook. It was just like, it looked like a child did it. And I was like, you're spending $500 on this shit? And so a lot of fighting back and forth on that. Fuck Live Nation. And we all know that. But that's my big show coming up. So I'm kind of working on that. But I'm getting back in my sober routine, going for walks, drinking NA beers, journaling, trying to exercise where I can. And it's like a 5-day vacation. I think it took me till like day 3 to finally kind of settle down and feel normal again and just not crave alcohol as much as I was. And once I got over that hump, I was like, oh, I might be taking a break again. I wasn't planning on quitting. I was just planning on taking a break. So we do the rest of this family vacation. And then I get back to Nashville. I have this show. Joe Fenty is headlining the Nashville Comedy Loft. I'm going to feature for him. Micah Cohn is going to host. It's going to be a great show. I'm excited for it. And I get back. I don't even think I got out of the airport before I started drinking. Like, as soon as I got away from my family, I started drinking again. And the little alarm bells aren't going off because I want to drink. And so I have the show. But again, the show goes great. And like, just one of those shows that you feel like everything about it, anything I said, they were laughing at. It was just, I connected them. Joe was great. Micah did great. Everything just went great. I had an awesome conversation with the Nashville Comedy Loft folks afterwards. And I'm really thinking to myself, I have a reason to stay in Nashville. I have this outlet now. I have the club I can work with. Not that Third Coast just, they have too many things happening there. Like, they're not just stand-ups. So this was like just doing stand-up. I had friends on the road that were looking for places to headline. All this stuff started to seem like it was coming together. And most importantly, I felt like I could finally control my drinking again, even though I am showing all the signs of not being able to control it. So that show goes great. Then the shit starts happening. And thank God it does, or I wouldn't be where I am right now. The first thing that happens is they owe me $50. Truthfully, it takes almost 6 weeks for me to get $50 from these guys. They're like dodging me. They won't just send it to me. They won't answer emails. So that starts happening. That's not great. Also, to be in a financial situation where you still have to desperately get $50, I'm not far off from that now. I'm a little bit better now, but what the fuck? And so that starts happening. I already said that this girl I was seeing, she's gone, so I'm back in the kind of just like, well, I'm sort of running around again. And then I have the Basement East show. Coming up in the Basement East show, I have 2 spots on the news, and I'm like actually sort of okay. Like, I know I said I was drinking as soon as I got back to the plane, but I'm not like waking up drinking. That's it, like I'm actually like waiting to an appropriate time to start drinking. I'm counting my drinks. I'm sort of being somewhat responsible, but when you're doing all those things around it, it's like, that's how you just know you have this problem. And so I got these TV spots coming up. I got the Basement East coming up. I'm starting to hunt down these guys for this like $50, but I'm having a hard time getting motivated to do Uber, because once you stop, you're just like, oh, it's really nice to live my life again. And also the alcohol is just taking over. And so I started watching these 2 dogs. They were a new client, but they weren't too far from me in my place in East Nashville. And I had the first news spot, and I remember waking up and being stressed about it, but I did it, and then I went to the bar. And then the next news spot, it was later, so I went to the bar first, told the bar about it so they could watch, went home, showered, got dressed, and I went and did the spot. And I've rewatched the tape, and I don't answer any of their questions directly because I'm clearly like a little drunk and I can't focus on what they're asking me. So I just kind of go on these sort of goofy tangents, but I'm articulate and I can put a sentence together. So it doesn't, I can tell. I mean, I don't know if anyone's ever seen this clip that I'm talking about, but like, I'm very obviously drunk. And then afterwards I went back to the bar and they were like, oh my God, you clean up so well. That's crazy. And then I just spend the rest of the day drinking. And after that is when I started getting back in the habit of waking up and just drinking, and I'm not doing anything else. And I'm starting to like kind of shift my money around from credit card to, temp loan to all these other things to shift my money around so I can just keep drinking. And it's getting dark again. And I haven't stopped anything. Like, I'm not stopping and I'm not going, hey, this is the sign. This is the sign you got to quit, right? And so it's starting to get a little messy. And at these dogs that I'm watching, I'm at the point where I'm like waking up and I'm going down. I'm like grabbing a bottle of tequila, drinking tequila, because this is what I forgot to mention. Just like in the trailer in Portland, Oregon, my anxiety has gotten so bad that I'm feeling physically sick again. So I'm waking up like dry heaving, and then I'm just going and starting to drink again so I don't have to feel like that. And that whole cycle has begun again. And even though this is like hey, stop, this is the time to stop, I'm not stopping because something in my brain's going, you're never going back. You're never going back to sobriety. This is how it's going to be. So you're just going to have to manage it. You're going to have to break this bender. But just like the first time I had to get sober, I thought I was on a bender that I was never going to break again. So this cycle begins and it goes for a few days, and it's leading up to the Basement East show. And I just feel like hell. I'm stressed out of my mind. There's like no money coming my way. And so I get to the Basement East show, and it honestly goes fine. I don't have the best set I've ever had. It wasn't like it was at the Comedy Loft where I just felt amazing. I felt good. I felt in control. I felt too drunk. I didn't feel like I was supposed to be there. I felt like very unstable, truthfully. And afterwards, I go back to settle up with them, and they're like, yeah, you owe us $1,600. And I was like, how the fuck do I owe you $1,600? It turns out later I was grandfathered into my contract from the year prior, and so I just made $0 on it after the $500 they took out from the ads. That was not conveyed to the person I was talking to, but in a moment, I'm sitting there going, oh my God, I owe these guys $1,600. Like, I don't even have $16 right now. This is insane. So I go to one of the comics. I'm like, they want $1,600. I'm getting the fuck out of here. And I leave. Everything gets settled, everything gets settled later on. But I'm also like, am I about to have a lawsuit with Live Nation? Like, I'm going to get destroyed. Things are getting bad, but I still don't quit drinking. So now I'm in this cycle of waking up, feeling sick, dry heaving for about an hour, grabbing a bottle of tequila, going into it, and going out and meeting some interesting people, but it's a vicious cycle. And I'm coming up in the last 2 weeks of July, and this is just all I'm doing. Rent's nowhere in sight. I've got all these loans from the road that I can't get ahead of. And I'm like, oh, I'm going to have to ask my parents for a loan. And I was looking at actual loans to just kind of consolidate my debt and take care of it. But I was like, I'd rather borrow money from them and pay them back than have to pay another bank back. I would eventually have to just take this easy loan, and it's paid off already. It was a very simple one, and I wish I had just done it. But if I hadn't made this phone call, I don't know if I would have quit drinking. So this is one of those moments where the universe decided to get involved and take care of me. So a couple things happen leading up to the day I finally get sober. First that happens is Happy Gilmore 2 comes out. And that movie is all about him managing his alcoholism. And I watched it like 5 times. I am sobbing the whole movie. That got my brain going back towards the idea of, you can do this, you can get sober. But I didn't want to, but it's starting to rattle around. Another thing that happened that was very silly is I got on Bumble and I matched with this really, really attractive woman. She looked like, I almost said Colin Yost's wife. She looked like Scarlett Johansson. And I saw that my profile on Bumble still said sober, and she was sober. And I thought, oh, I'm going to have to get sober again to even go on a date with this person. We never went on a date. We talked for like a week. It never happened. But also, classic men right there of just like, oh, well, pretty girl wants me to get sober. I better get sober. So I have a couple of things kind of floating around me, though. I have this movie. I have, and Happy Gilmore 2, that taps in the nostalgia of my childhood, all this other stuff. So for the second one to be mostly about his alcoholism and rising above it and taking care of his family, I'm like, oh my God. And the Bumble thing happens. So the next thing is I still don't have any plans on getting sober, but my friends Will and Kara, who they are such dear friends. They have been with me for so many ups and downs. When I got into my car accident, I was at their place, and they just let me be. They just let me exist. And if I was with their cats after that accident, I basically just nursed myself back to health at their place. And they were there like when I first got sober, and they brought me if you see the clicker that I always post on Instagram, they bought that for me. And they're just great people. And Will texts me. I want to say it was like July 27th. Okay. And Will texts me, and one of their cats passed away. Fox, he was old. He had a couple of problems. But Fox, when I got hurt after that accident and I was just laying at their place, Fox basically stayed with me the entire time and was just protection. He was just comfort. He was everything. And he's the sweetest cat in the world, and I miss him so much. But I'm sitting at no quarter, and I get this text, and I just start bawling. And I can't, I'm trying to get my shit together because I'm sitting in a bar in the middle of the day just crying. And they're probably, bartenders are like, yeah, no shit, we see this all the time. But I finally get home. Before I got that message, I had asked my parents about this loan, and they're like, you got to call us because what the hell is happening over there? So I just said, I don't want to talk tonight because this cat just died. I just don't feel up for it. Now, another way their universe checked in is this very calm, stable person that I talked to on the family trip, being my dad, when I said, yeah, I'm drinking again. He just said, well, I wish you weren't. That stable person had a really bad day at work on July 27th or about that day. So I didn't know that going in. So I have this phone call with my mom and dad thinking I'm going to talk to the guy from before, and I am getting straight up Satan. My siblings and I have talked about this. My dad is a sweet man. He's a calm guy. He's very funny. But when he is mad and he yells at you, it comes from the bowels of hell. It comes from a place that you're like, oh, only a boomer can muster up this kind of rage. And so I say the thing about, the loan or whatever. And And he just he's like, God. And basically, he's not yelling at me about anything else. He's yelling at me about getting sober because he can hear it in my voice that I'm drunk. He can tell that I've like lost the plot, and he's just yelling. He's just he's like, you gotta get back into AA. You gotta do this. You gotta do that. And I start crying. I'm like, just like, yelling at him. He's yelling at me. He walks away and he's just furious. And then my mom's like, I'm genuinely sorry. I didn't know how bad a day at work he had. And I was like, yeah, I was just upset about the cat. So, that's one of those moments that, it saved my life. Truthfully, it saved my life because my brain went, well, I'm fucking sick of this. And that is what I didn't have the first time around. I didn't have I'm fucking sick of this. I'm tired of this. I'm tired of feeling like this. I'm tired of my family feeling like this. I'm tired of making them feel like this. I just didn't have that the first time around. And it finally happened. And, it was a combination of Fox dying and finally just like, I was so sick of my relationship with my father just being that, where he's just upset. He's annoyed. He's just like, and I'm just tired of making anyone around me feel like this anymore. So I didn't get sober in that moment, because I wanted to wean off, and I wasn't entirely sure I was going to get sober. But I did know that something had to change. So the next day, I go home to my apartment. I'm still watching these dogs, and I walk in, and every time I walk into my apartment, I have this wall of like sort of achievements, but it's just like shows I really liked, pictures of some friends from New York, things like that. But one of the things that is framed is the lineup from my debut at Zany's back in 2021. And on that lineup is Amber Autry and Renard Hirsch and Courtney Warner and Chance Willie and Casey Sharima and Dusty Slay and one or two other people that I'm probably missing, and that's probably for good reason. But a couple of those people on that list, I'm not going to say who, I'm not going to say who specifically, but a few of those people are not my friends. If you are listening to this and you heard your name on that list, I hope that you know it's not you. And if you're at home and you're curious as hell, DM me and I'll give you some tea, baby. But I thought to myself, it can't be healthy seeing this list with mostly people you don't like and they don't like you. This can't be healthy seeing this every single time you walk into your house. So I take the picture down and I take a picture and put it on Instagram and go, wow, look at that. And then I threw it in this little bucket I have and I set it on fire. And man, the release, it was like a demon getting exorcised. And all of a sudden that was the step one, something's changing. This next chapter you're looking for, it's happening now. I didn't drink heavily. I'd only had like a couple beers. And then the next day, let's say that happened on the 28th or 29th. I really can't remember. But all I know is that I knew the next day I wasn't going to drink anymore. And so I weaned myself off, and I woke up the 30th and I was prepared to have just this terrible, terrible withdrawal. But because I kind of weaned myself off, I didn't. What I actually had was I ended up having a great night of sleep. But the first thing I did was I just started walking, and I'm in the same park that I'm in now, and I walked, and I was like, I'm not going to stop walking, because if I stop walking, I'll drink. So I just walked for like 8 hours. I did like 15 miles or something ridiculous, and I was just sweating everything out. I ran into some people I knew on the streets. There was always some random people that weren't like close friends, but people that just had popped up in my life in Nashville, and I just kept going and going and going. And then on July 31st is when I was like, we're getting fucking sober. We're sober. So July 30th was day 1. Now I'm on to day 2. And that's where I'm going to end chapter 18. And I know that was a little bit frantic. I haven't rehashed this month. It's a lot to go through. And honestly, this month was very hectic and stressful. And a lot of different things happened this month that didn't make me feel great. But it just was so different because I'm sober. And I never had a shade of doubt that I was going to get to July 30th, 2026 and hit my year. Early days, which I'll talk about in the next chapter, some stuff happened there that it made this year so much smoother, and I just had so much more clarity and understanding. But again, all these things had to happen. And it had to be the right place, the right time. Dad had to have a bad day at work. I had to fuck up to a point that I needed to get them involved again. They had to force me to make this phone call and not wait another day like I wanted, And just it was love. It just came from love because I didn't hear him yelling at me because he was angry. I heard him yelling at me because he was scared. And I was tired of feeling like, I don't think I'm going to see 40. And that's the truth. I was starting to live my life as like, I don't think I'm going to be around much longer, so might as well have as much fun as possible. And I'm just very thankful because I do think that was true. I don't know where I would be right now. And, that day was almost more important than what today represents, because that was the day that I had a purpose again. And I felt like I needed to do this, Yeah. Well, that was worth getting through today. God damn. Sometimes you don't need therapy. Sometimes you just need to talk into a lav mic walking around Cornelia Airport. Well, guys, that was chapter 18. That is the final days leading up to me getting sober, hopefully once and for all. It feels like it'll be once and for all. I appreciate every single one of you that listens to this podcast, and please that reach out or you have questions, I always appreciate that as well. And if you've been listening and it's helped you in any way, let me know, because that makes me feel good to know that I'm making you feel good. And I appreciate you guys for listening, and I'm excited for this story to be over, but there are still things that need to be talked about. Basically what just happened is we just defeated Sauron. And now the hobbits are going back to the Shire and being like, what the fuck, Saruman's here, we gotta kill this guy. Those are the next two chapters. That's going to be the come down, the end of the book, and leading us into where we are today. But thank you so much for listening. Again, if you think you need help, you probably need help. And just ask somebody. Be vocal, be brave. You got this. You're the best. I'll see you all tomorrow at the album recording. Take us away, Kenny.
Left home, gone coast to coast in a hybrid car with a bag of clothes. Back on the wagon, back on the road. Would you have my back when I'm all alone? On a wing and a prayer, all out of favors. Hope to get $1 and a smile out of stranger. As the story is told and the plot unfolds, we laugh not to cry, but it's not a joke. No, it's not a joke. It's not a joke. Ooh.